To go. I think everything is set for the day to begin. So I want to welcome everyone who's joined. As always, it's nice to see you. And by the way, the most heartwarming thing about all this is just the sheer positive feedback we're getting from the public, especially you guys who listen. Everywhere I go, everyone is talking about 360 Mentor and how it's changing lives and making a difference in the way people see themselves. So yeah, we'll continue doing it as long as we can and make sure that we leave you better than we found you in 2021. Hopefully 2022 will be a lot better than 2021 has been for many people. People have lost loved ones. By the way, before I start, I must warn you guys, somebody very knowledgeable sent me a piece of information that I think is useful for all of you who are listening. Those of you who are watching on Zoom, I want you to mark and note this. The demand for oxygen has gone up in certain hospitals around the country. Now, what that means is that obviously there is the rates, the incidences of COVID may be beginning to go up and severe illness is probably kicking in. So guys, masks back on, crowded places avoid, sanitize like hell, exercise like your life depends on it, and keep yourself safe. Otherwise, there'll be no second chances. Okay, so let's get started. It's 7 o'clock now, and let's get the show on the road. So, at the last week, I got a short notice invitation to speak to a group of bankers. And they wanted me to speak about career change, and rather managing your own career growth as an individual. And when I went online to speak to them, by the time I noticed there was 460 people. And I was really, surprised that such a large group of people would want to hear. Of course, it was their company meeting and their boss was speaking in advance of me. But the number even grew once I started talking. And I'm also aware that there were a number of guests from outside who were invited to come in and listen to what I had to say. When I finished speaking, the feedback it just blew me away. It really, really blew me away. So I started wondering, maybe it's a subject that I could share with a much wider audience. And, for us to consider, for us to talk about, because all of you who are either on Zoom, YouTube, or Spaces have career ambitions and aspirations that you're dealing with. Either you're just about to get into the workplace, or you've just gotten into the workplace, or you've been in and you're trying to figure out which direction do I go. So I want to start by telling you the story that I told the team of bankers. One of the people that I've worked with and that I admired greatly and had a very soft spot for was a lady called Camilla Asia. Camilla used to work at Vision Group at the reception, and she worked there for many years, I think well over 20 years. If you ever came to Vision before 20, I think is 18 or 19, you would have met Camilla because she worked at the reception. The one thing about Camilla that you need to know, well, she's now deceased. She passed away shortly after she retired. So Camilla, the one thing about her was let me start with how she treated me. So she always, because she had known me longer than before I became managing director, she always referred to me as her son or my son. Every time she would come, whether she would come to the office to speak, even if it was official things, she'd say my son. But the way she did it was in a very respectful and loving manner, not patronizing, not trying to impose herself as a figure of authority over me, but to show affection and also to show respect. But there was one thing that I noticed about, so Camilla was of very humble schooling. She never made it beyond her O level. So she joined the workplace in Kampala. Those days, there used to be an organization. For those of you who are much younger, you wouldn't know. There used to be an organization called Coffee Marketing Board, and it was one of the blue chip employers in Uganda. So she joined as a netballer, and they were the people who used to work, I think, in the sorting department. It was a low-level person. Anyway, so Coffee Marketing Board eventually collapsed, and Camilla had to find work elsewhere. So she found herself at Vision Group, and in the early 90s, I think it was somewhere in the early 90s, and became a receptionist. Now, all the years that Camilla worked at Vision, she worked at the reception, except on a very short while where she was moved to go and work in as a customer officer somewhere else, and it wasn't very successful, and she came back. So here is why. And by the way, Camilla was one of the most successful workers at Vision in her personal life. So Camilla, on her humble salary of a receptionist, was able to put through school 3 sons. One has a PhD in agricultural science, the other one is a computer specialist, and the other one is a broadcast specialist, all of them with master's degrees, on the salary of a receptionist. She was able to build 3 houses, one in Kampala, one in Seta, and another one in West Nile, Moyo, where she came from. And if that's the measure of achievement, then Camilla was more successful than many people I know who have more degrees than they know what to do with. The reason I bring up the story of Camilla is that there is one thing Camilla understood. She understood herself, she understood her strengths, she knew her personality, and she was very aware that she was suited for dealing with people. She had a very sunny personality, knew how to handle people. She was very polite, very friendly. And so she was aware that she didn't have a skill, but what she had was a personality that suited the job that she did. So in all her life, she was very happy to work at the reception, and that was it. It wasn't that, we should have given her a promotion, because one time she was promoted and moved to another department. Life was hell. She couldn't fit. So she stayed there. She was very happy until the time she was ready to leave. She came and told me, I am ready to leave. The point for you to take away from all of this is as follows. Do you know yourself very well? Are you self-aware enough to figure out whether you're suited for the career you are pursuing and in the organization that you're pursuing that career? Sometimes our ambition is bigger than who we are, and as a result, we aspire for things where we would never thrive, and we end up in situations where our personality pretty much sabotages our ability to grow our careers in the workplace. So the first thing that you as a person need to appreciate is that as you pursue your career, it's not enough that you know or that you have a certain set of skills. It is important for you, like Camilla, to invest in figuring out what kind of personality are you, who are you, become self-aware. Why is that important? Because then you will know whether a particular job suits you or not. It's just as simple as that. Does the job that you're doing suit you? Or is the organization in which you want to pursue your career, does it fit with your values? You may say, well, I know myself. I've been living with myself for the last 20, 30 years, so I know who I am. No, sometimes you never know. You may be a very shy person. So if you're a very shy person, why would you want to look for a career in sales or in marketing? Because then you will not survive. You will not thrive, rather, in a context that requires regular, bold engagement with the public. So it's not enough that you probably got a degree in commerce or 3 degrees, or you got an MBA and you're incredibly good at marketing, you have this knowledge. It's important that you have the aptitude and the personality and the persona required to do or to pursue the career that you want. So in terms of reflection, what I would urge you to do if you're really thinking seriously about whatever career it is that you're pursuing, you might be thinking of becoming a doctor, but you actually really fear blood or the sight of blood. So how are you going to do anything? You are a nurse, but you fear injections, or so all of these things. So I urge you today to think seriously, reflect, really, really reflect. What kind of personality are you? And there are very simple ways in which to do this. You need to check what are the things that make you happy? What are the situations that make you very happy? And what are the situations you dread? So for instance, you may be the kind of person who doesn't want to offend people. Now you cannot go into HR as a career if you don't want to offend people, because there will be a day you will need to fire somebody or you will need to present bad news. So if you're the kind of person who is always looking to be loved and liked, then you cannot pursue certain careers. Therefore, guys, sitting there and listening to me, and this comes from years of experience of working and trying to figure out things, spend some time this month, even maybe till the end of the year, reflecting, who am I? Who are you? Think. You'll not get the answers immediately, but how do you go about this process? You go about this process by looking back on your life, as I said, the things that make you happy, the things that don't make you happy, the situations that are comfortable for you, the situations that are very uncomfortable for you. What do they tell you about yourself? Secondly, we all have people we know, people who know us. Some of you may be married, some of you may have spouses, some of you may just be in very close relationships. Ask those people to tell you what it is about you that they like and what it is about you they don't like. They will tell you. And when they tell you, it will give you an idea of who you are. It will reflect back to you. And when you know who you are, you will start to explain certain things in your career. Why did I fail here? Why did I find this unattractive? Why did I enjoy this particular time in the company that I worked? Why did I like this particular company? And so on and so forth. So for you to grow in your career, you owe it to yourself to understand, who is this person that lives in my skin? So that when you take this person that lives in your skin to the workplace, you are very clear how to go about the workplace situation, because you know what makes you tick and what doesn't make you tick. So that's the first step. So that's why I was telling you the story of Camilla, because Camilla understood her personality, she understood her attributes, she knew her strengths, and she knew how to deploy them to be an effective employee. Camilla didn't go anywhere to train to become a receptionist. She didn't go anywhere to train on customer care. She just was that kind of person who found herself in a job that she was happy to do. And because she was happy to do it, she excelled at it. And for her, it wasn't a job, it was a passion. And so we let her stay at work until she was ready to leave. And then when she was really ready, she came and said, yeah, I'm now ready to go. So goodbye, and I'm leaving. So I urge you as a first step, first of all, remember, you are the architect of your own career. There is no job, there is no workplace, there is no organization that's going to shape your career for you. The organizations are in the business of achieving certain objectives. It's either profit, or if it's not a profit organization, it's other outcomes. They're not going to babysit you into career growth. If it happens, well and good. All they will do is they'll create the opportunity. The rest comes down to you as a person to take the action that is required. Now, before you take action, you need to be aware. Once you're aware, then you will take the correct actions. If you don't do that, and you think that simply because you have the skills, you must thrive in a particular career, I can assure you, you're in for a very long haul of frustration. You will be in jobs you don't like, jobs that are not suited for you, and you will be switching jobs like revolving doors, simply because you didn't bother to take the first step of figuring out whether, one, your personality is suited for that particular job. This has nothing to do with skills, has nothing to do with degrees, has nothing to do with what you studied. So please do yourself a favor this weekend, starting this weekend. Do some self-reflection, do some assessment. Talk to the guy in your skin. How do you talk to that guy in your skin? You can get a book and start writing the conversations you're having with yourself, noting down the thoughts that are running in your mind. And when that happens, you will start to get clarity about who you are. When you get clarity about who you are, then you will know, as I said, the actions that you need to take in order to fit in a career. Now that will sort of take you into the next point that I want to make to you. So one of the things that I found very interesting when I was working in the media was the media has some of the most restless people. Restless in the sense that they come into the media, they're very young, they're very idealistic, they want to change the world. And then 3 to 4 years later, they realize that the world has been around for so long, it has no plan to change. And they get disillusioned and then they move on. Or they get ambition and move to other organizations. They want to be something bigger than where they are now. That happens a lot. Now, those are different types of people. They're not like Camilla. They're not satisfied to just pursue this one line of work. They want to take their careers into all sorts of different options. And that is good. It's not that Camilla's was good and, to stay in one job for 17, 23 years. And the guys who went through different jobs were wrong. No, everyone is right. The only mistake that comes in is the reasons why people do job changes. And so people would come to me and say, oh, sir, I've decided to leave because there's no opportunity for growth here. So I have decided I want to go and work in this organization. You meet them 2-3 years later and they're frustrated because the grass was greener on the other side. Or you guys are paying me peanuts, let me go to another organization where they're paying me a lot of money. They give the guy 3 times the amount of money he was getting, but the job satisfaction is not there. Others have problems with their bosses, and I'm not saying that I justify nasty bosses who are a nasty piece of work, but so the things that get people to move are the experiences, or to make the career changes that they make, are experiences at work. And in most cases, when I have dealt with those situations, I have realized that people who leave as a result of the reasons I've given you end up being even more frustrated. More frustrated because they were dealing with a situation that was facing them at that time. And once they extracted themselves from the job situation that was frustrating them, either lack of good pay, lack of recognition, bad bosses, wanting more money or wanting career growth, those things in themselves should not drive you to make career choices. Those things are part of the workplace experience. You may leave this job and the next boss is worse than the one you left behind. In order for all those things not to matter to you, because like money, as soon as you get the first paycheck, you're happy, the second, the third, after that, you get used to that money, and then you start to look around and you're wondering, what happens? So here's what I would say to you. One of the things you should now look at if you're going to make a decision about your career is after you've been through the whole self-awareness exercise, then ask the next very simple question. What does the person in your skin want? What do I want? What should I want for my life? So that by the time I make a career choice, I am actually now in a position to answer the question. The career choice or whatever growth will be serving a purpose that already exists, that has already been clearly defined. So you're not moving because the boss is bad. You're moving because if you move from MTN to UCC or from Airtel to ITA, it is because going there will serve what it is that you want, that you have clearly thought through. I will repeat that. If you make a move from one career to another, either you're switching careers, you're leaving the law and going to become a pastor, or you're moving from MTN, as I said, to UCC, it must be driven by a well thought through process of what it is you want. Sometimes, by the way, career growth is not just about you choosing to go to another organization. No, no, no. It is also about you deciding whether you should train or go to school for a particular skill. Now, there was a time when everyone that I knew of my generation thought they had to get an MBA, whether they were doctors, vet doctors, or pharmaceutical. Everyone thought, well, everybody is getting an MBA, let me go and get an MBA. But how does the MBA fit in your choices for career growth? So that vision that I was telling you about, that clarity of purpose, helps you now to decide exactly how to make those choices. So I had guys in the newsroom. It was very, very, it was very common for people to apply, go and study health communications, do a master's in health communications, public health, whatever. Now, the question is, have you thought through, or is it you think that if I go, there is a lot of money to be paid by people who work as communications people in health organizations, so let me go and do that. So basically, all I ask you to do is figure out what it is that you want. Now, I understand and I recognize that not everybody will find it easy or simple to set a clear vision. Some people may struggle, some are lucky, some have attributes, intellectual attributes to be able to do this. Like I said, when you undertake the other reflection about figuring out your personality, you could also say, you know, once you've done all of this, at the end of the day, what are the dreams? What are the wishes that you have? What is it that you've always wanted to do? Then, as I said, reflect on things that excite you, things that you are happy to do, you enjoy doing. For instance, some people enjoy organizing things, others enjoy blowing them up. So just figure out. Now, that will help you to define the vision of what it is that you want for your life, and therefore figuring out this career, that career, maybe I should not do that, maybe I should do the other. Of course, it's different if you are in survival mode. If you're in survival mode, the choices I'm talking about are slightly different. Yeah? If you're in survival mode, the most urgent thing is to get a job that gets you money, and so you can meet your human needs. In those circumstances, the question I'm talking about will only arise when you are now have a bit of money, you are earning an income, you can look after yourself. Now, the urgency to survive is not there anymore. Then the question arises, where are you going? Are you satisfied with where you are now? Let's say, for instance, you set out to earn money and you become a border rider, or I think the new word I learned is you're working on a judge. So if you own a border, you left university, you have no job, so the first thing you do is either get a border or get a Rolex stand. Now, after a while, the need to earn money will have been solved. The question that will face you is, do you want to remain a border rider for the rest of your life? Or do you want to remain a Rolex stand operator for the rest of your life? Is this what you bargained for? Or do you now want to move on? Now, that's when you need, even in those very tough circumstances where life is difficult, you still owe it to yourself to engage in the mental exercise of figuring out, one, who you are and what you're suited for. Number two, to define what your dream is. Even if all you want to do is to say, look, I'm sure I want to end up living in, or working in government, and I want to be a permanent secretary, define it. Do so. Even if right now you have no employment and you're thinking, for me, any job will do. Why will any job do? Ask that question. Yeah, because it will give me something to do and I'll earn money. That's very short term because it will be solved the moment you get the job. But the bigger question is, why do you want a job? What kind of life do you want? And is this job that you're taking the one you will have for a long time, or is it a stepping stone to something else? Some people go and get jobs because they want to have a foot in a particular organization. And once they're in, then they start to chart a completely different direction. We used to joke amongst my friends, especially those who are professionals, that there are some organizations in Kampala whose purpose was just to get, they were like stepping stones, they were like training grounds. So people would go there knowing, I'm going to go there, gain experience, learn from these people, and I'll be out of there in 3 years. There were those types of organizations with that type of reputation. So you need to figure out whether you like it or not, whether you're hungry or not, whether you're unemployed or not, whether desperation alone does not justify you to not think through these things. You owe it to yourself to think through. And me, by the way, the talks I'm giving you, I am giving them to you as an individual for your own personal growth. Don't tell me that the government or the church or the mosque can do this for you or your employee. No, I am talking to you in your personal capacity. So please remember that always. When I give you this advice, it is for you as an individual. When you are in that quiet, dark moment at night, lying on your bed, and insomnia has kicked in or hunger has kicked in and you cannot think clearly. I mean, not that you cannot think clearly, but you seem like your options are gone. When you are alone, how should you behave with yourself in order to be of use? And that's why I'm telling you that you need to get these clarities. Now, when you have clarified to yourself what your aspirations are and what your ambitions are, draw a plan. This stuff is talked about by people regularly. They talk about it and say, no, you need to get, you need to draw a plan. And it seems like it's trite or it's cliched. But the truth is, it's necessary. It's necessary because a plan will guide your actions. A plan, you will be intentional in what you do. You must be intentional in what you do. First of all, when you draw a plan, you're committing to yourself and taking full responsibility for your life and saying, I am going to do the following 10 things in order to achieve the other dream. So even for your career, you must draw a career path plan. If you have figured out and said, okay, for me, one day I want to be a permanent secretary. So now you draw a plan. How do I get interviewed by the public service? Who do I know? What do I look out for? When will the ads run? Which ministry do I want to go into? Or if you're going to pursue a corporate career, which are the organizations that would offer opportunity and in which areas? Now, once you get all this information, then now you act. It might be that you need maybe to go for further training. So you then decide which course to undertake. And then you can't tell me that and don't give me the excuse that you have no money. There are free courses online. You guys have enough airtime to go on social media and complain about everything. You can use that airtime to do an online course. And big universities, which long ago used to require physical presence, are now offering online courses. So, but to make all those choices, you've got to have all this stuff written down for you and by you, intentionally saying, I am going to look for this organization. I am then going to try and get in, or I need to go back to studies and get this skill or this qualification so that I am able to then qualify to be in this career line. Then I'll work there for 5 years. And after 5 years, I should do this or I should go in this organization. That you must have that written down somewhere. Now you'll ask me, did you do that for yourself? I didn't, because at that time, nobody talked to me the way I'm talking to you. But in my head, I had a dream and I had an ambition. I knew I wanted to work in the media and I knew I wanted to rise to the top in the media. And then, of course, now you start working on your dream, on your plans, making the networks, meeting the people, participating in activities that put you at the front line, all of that stuff. So I need to remind you, it is not your organization that is going to draw a career path for you. It's not your organization that's going to take you into career growth. Absolutely not. It is you, by being intentional and therefore drawing a plan. And then after you have drawn the plan and written it out, don't now close the book and put it on the shelf like the shelf behind me here. What you need to do is, after your plan is there, now you must start to take the small steps that are required to grow your career. Don't just drift and hope that one day you'll end up on the shoreline. You might drown. Most likely you'll drift into the deeper waters and die. The most important thing is, after you've drawn the plan, now start saying, okay, I'll act on this. So I'll find out which organizations are hiring. I'll find out what they like when they're hiring. Are there any of your friends who are in the job market already? And if they are in the job market, what are they telling you about what's going on in that job market? Go online. I think there's places like LinkedIn. Go to the websites of organizations, find out what those organizations stand for, what are their values, what do they do, and that will give you a sense of the employment situation. But also, if you're already in employment, then start to think, I am now here. How do I move from where I am to where I want to be? What steps do I take? Then you may realize that in your organization, when you get a certain qualification, you're immediately promoted. So go get the qualification. So you go find the school, pay the fees, and do the work. Then when you've gotten your qualification, you come back and claim, and so on. So this comes down to you guys. I must repeat, as I have always done, that it comes down to you. Now, the third point that I want to share with you, which I shared yesterday with the bankers, is that you need, and this is especially for those who are already in employment and are in certain organizations, wherever you are, it doesn't matter, as long as you are pursuing a career now already actively in employment. Figure out, and let's do a small exercise this weekend. And you can do it on your own. You don't have to involve anyone else. Ask yourself this very fundamental question. What is the purpose of the work you are doing now? What is the purpose? I will repeat that question for your benefit. This weekend, take time off, be on your own, and ask, what is the purpose of the work I do? And then, let's say your organization is, you're employed by Ruggiero Farm Limited. So ask yourself this very fundamental question. After asking what is the purpose of work, now ask yourself this. Where does Ruggiero Farm fit in your overall scheme, your overall plan of action, your overall things? Where does Ruggiero fit? Is Ruggiero Farm serving the bigger career purpose that you have set yourself? And is my work there helping me? Does it have a purpose? Is it helping me? The next question you ask yourself is, where does my work, which I am doing, fit in the overall scheme of things of Ruggiero Farm? Please, people, please, 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 I am requesting you kindly, you go and ask yourself these three questions. What is the purpose of my work in this organization? Number two, where does the organization I'm working for fit in my personal overall scheme of things, my ambitions? Number three, where do I fit? Where do I fit? Yeah, where do I fit in the overall scheme of the organization? Once you've figured out those three things, the career path in front of you will clear up. Because now you know, either you are important or you're not important in that organization. If you are, how does that advance your own priorities? If it does, you stay. If it doesn't, you leave. Because in order for your career to grow, you must align your interests, your vision, your purpose with that of the organization where you are. So today you ask yourself, this organization which I'm working for, do I actually want to be here? And if so, it's not just, it's not an emotional thing. This is called practical consideration, because you will need to be sure that you are in a place that you really want to be. And that way is the only way you will ensure that your career grows. Otherwise, you will stagnate. And that's why many of you are stranded. You're stranded in these positions. You're growing old in the same cubicle where you've been sitting for the last 9, 10 years. You came, you were still looking great. Now you're all gray-haired like me, and you're still sitting in the same place and calling it a job and calling it a life. You need to sit down with yourself and ask those questions. The related thing in terms of aligning, not just the purpose or in the overall scheme of things, is the question of values. And this is important. There are people who go into organizations because the organization will pay well, but it is against their values. So there are people who feel very strongly about killing. They will not be anywhere near killing. Now, if you feel very strongly about killing, what are you doing in the army or in the security forces? Because that business involves killing people. So you should look at your value set and figure out, if these are my values, do they align with those of the organization? So you've aligned 4 things. You've aligned your purpose, you've aligned your position in the organization, and you've aligned the position of the organization in your life, and now you align the values. If your values are against the ones of the organization, goodbye. Time to go. The money doesn't matter. It will end in what Daniel, I think, calls premium something. You will be in tears. That's a fact. So those are the first 3 things that I wanted to make sure sink in. I'll talk a bit more, and then after that, there's some questions that came in from Twitter, which I will answer. And in the meantime, there are some questions that are also coming in on Zoom, and I will answer those, and then I'll let you guys maybe on Spaces have your word as well. But I have a couple more things that I wanted to talk to you about. So the other point is, somebody, I was watching something today, and somebody said, if you know, the first step is you're aware, and if you know, you will take action. If you don't know, you'll never take action. So when you know, then you'll take action. Why am I telling you that? In order for you to be in charge of the growth or the trajectory of your career, you must be somebody who can be, 1, advised. In other words, you're open-minded enough for you to receive advice, for you to be open to feedback, and not take things personal, and not get angry when people tell you stuff you don't like to hear. Whoever tells you stuff you don't like to hear is doing you one of the biggest favors in your life. They're allowing you to course correct. Because if all you're doing is sitting with praise singers and all the time they're telling you how great you are, you look. By the way, the day when in your career you're getting feedback about your job, and the only thing you get is that you're a nice person and you look great, forget it. In other words, guys are being polite, but they're telling you you're useless. So if somebody tells you you're useless, unless they're being malicious and nasty, if somebody is honest enough to come and tell you you are not very useful here, thank them, because they're telling you that it's time to go to where you are more practically useful than where you are now. So my advice to you under those circumstances is, please be advisable. And it's very easy to be advisable. You just have to dial down your ego and then be open when people walk up to you and say, Maybe we could do things like this. Maybe you should consider this. Maybe there's something wrong with the way you do things. That's why we're not getting results. Those kinds of people are angels sent to save you. The related element of that is be open to learning. Learn, and it's a lifelong commitment. Learn, 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 learn. Learning means you're going to teach yourself. You're going to allow yourself to be teachable. The related element there as well is that there are things you are going to have to unlearn because they don't work for you. You have to unlearn all those things. So be advisable, be teachable, and then unlearn stuff. Why? Because the things that we stick to, the habits, will and that may take us down the wrong route. If we don't unlearn them, or if we don't learn new things, if we're not advisable, they'll stick. But you also need to know, by doing that, you will be trying to create, or to know what habits you need to create in order to succeed in the growth of your career. You need to know what you need to become, and to become that, you have to be taught in order for you to be successful at your career. It will also help you in the process. If you're open like that, you will find mentors. What do I mean? If you're open to being advised, if you're willing to learn, and if you're willing to unlearn, or rather, if you're open to advice, willing to learn, and ready to let go of stuff, you will find mentors. And those mentors will be very useful, because mentors are drawn to people who are open, people who want to be advised, people who want to grow, people who are willing to take advice. So you will find that you receive support, you receive a lot of assistance from people who are now invested in seeing you to succeed. But what it also do for you is that when you choose your mentors, you'll be very clear about who you want to follow and why. And you're following them because you have a clearly defined vision, you have your plan, and now you're ready to learn. So that's what happens under those circumstances. So now, let me also say this about mentors. You never have to meet your mentor. In fact, your mentor could be dead. Why? Because mentoring can come through books, mentoring can come through movies. Many of you who are following me and listening to what I have to say, or who are watching, may never get the chance to meet me, but doesn't mean that I can't be your mentor. It takes you to be open and willing to learn, even by just watching other people at a distance. When you watch them and see what they do, the things and the way they do things, and learn how they solved problems and how they dealt with situations, that's already mentoring. If you are lucky to sit with your boss or your seniors in meetings, I know that some of you dread meetings because you think they're a waste of time. No, meetings are not a waste of time. The immediate agenda may not be followed, or they may be long and winded, but meetings have an important mentoring opportunity for you, especially the young guys. One, you will learn the things about work that you don't like, or methods of work that you don't like. So that's a lesson. Number two, you will learn how decisions are made, how people handle each other. There's dynamics. Who does what? Who are the guys who get stuff done? And why is it that they're able to get stuff done? So if you have a chance to attend a management meeting, don't refuse to go there because you're saying it takes too long, they're time wasting, they're old men, they just drink tea and have samosa. No. There's always something useful in those meetings. Go and find out. You watch. You will see things you don't like. And for me, by attending a lot of meetings, I learned, first of all, how to conduct meetings. I knew how to not waste time in meetings, what needed to be done, and how to get straight to the point. You're not going to learn that if you're sitting outside of meetings and you're not attending them. So look in your workplace for every single opportunity, every single learning opportunity that will help your career to grow. The learning doesn't, I used to deal with this situation a lot, where people thought that the only training they were getting is when they boarded a plane to go to some other country. That is what they called training. The truth is there is so much training going on the job that you need to just open your mind and you just know they'll tell and figure out who are the successful players in the company. Why are they so good? And if they're so good, what can you learn from them? So please take full advantage of all the opportunities to learn, make yourself better, and then on the basis of that, grow. Then, one of the things in your career that you need to develop is self-confidence, and show it. Show that you're confident about who you are, your personality, and the ability to do things. So Camilla was confident enough to call her managing director my son, because she was comfortable in her skin, she was confident of herself and knew that she was doing a good job, and always gave testimony of the fact that she was doing a good job. So have the self-confidence to be able to project yourself as capable and competent. And when you achieve things, please talk about them. Let everybody know that you are the one who has accomplished this. Of course, you should be balancing between being boisterous and so on and so forth. But I can tell you that if somebody who shows confidence in their abilities and willing to take up tasks of any kind or take on big responsibilities, those are the people who move ahead, because the guys who are making decisions are willing to trust that the person who has shown confidence and has shown willingness to take risks and take on big responsibilities is the person who can be trusted. If you're timid and you are running away from responsibility, when time comes to do work, you are shy. When they tell you something, you start crying in the office. Nobody is going to give you a chance. The world is tough as it is. Why are you bringing tears to the office? So if you have a career that you are pursuing, guys, I am telling you, it is important that you show that you're confident in yourself and believing in yourself. If you don't, nobody will. And in fact, they will even steal your glory and own it and make use of it and move on. You know those types of people at the workplace, they're there. They're always taking everyone else's credit. So please remember, show confidence, develop it, and step up each time a responsibility. Somebody, they're looking for someone to do something. You should be the one who steps up and says, I think I can take that on. There used to be people in the workplace I would meet, they'd give them, there's a responsibility, and the guy says, it's not in my job description. Now, what nonsense is that? And you want a career to grow? Well, it won't grow, because if you don't do things that are outside your job description, you will stay with the job description you have now forever. It will never grow into something else. It's only when you are tested in the workplace properly and you are seen to be capable of other things that your career will grow. I keep repeating to everyone that I speak to about this subject that my own journey taught me that every job you have is a consistent and permanent job interview for the next responsibility. So always have that mindset that with every task you're doing, with every job that you're performing, it is a job interview for the next one, the one that you're looking at. As you have that perspective, then you'll do this job that you have now with such excellence that it will lead to your growth. But if you tell people that for you, it's not your job description, yeah, I'm not going to do that, you won't put in extra hours, but you will stay in that vortex, you will never leave. It's also important that you develop good communication skills. And why is it? Because once you have the communication skills, you'll be able to let other people know where you stand on things, what you need, and how you go about stuff. Once people know where you stand, what you stand for, what your needs are, and they're very clear what your ambition is, they will help you, or at least they won't get into the way. So please be able or develop the ability, clearly state your position, where you are in life, and where you want to go. If there is no clarity, if you are not clear and you can't express yourself where you want to go and what you can be and what you can do, nobody has time for you. And people are not bad. You're just wasting their time with being muddled up in your mind and not being able to express yourself. So please do express yourself, have the ability to express yourself. The final point in terms of the presentation before I take on questions, and I'll start with those, as I said, that were posted earlier. you just think that at some point you yourself, you're going to be a mentor. And in your normal way of working, you're mentoring other people because they're looking to you. Now, don't tell people what to do. That's a waste of time. If you begin to feel that people are looking up to you as a mentor, then your behavior becomes important to you and to the other people. You now must model the behavior that people expect you to. So you, for instance, need to mind your language. You can't go around using foul language. You can't be found in compromising situations. You must espouse certain values. So it's not just that you're in a leadership position, you're also helping other people to grow and become what they should be. So, and people are looking at your career and saying, I would really like my career to be like that. So what you do with your career is not just for yourself to grow. You may think it's for yourself, but there are people who are looking to you to help them grow their careers. And this might surprise you. You may think nobody is looking to you in terms of career. Well, your children are. Children are always trying either to be like their dads or their parents or better than them. You definitely play a big role in the career choices and decisions that the children will make, your children will make. So what you do with your career now and how you make it grow and how you execute it, how you conduct yourself becomes a reflection for other people, including your children, to take on. So those are the perspectives I would have liked to share with you. But now I must find the questions that people posed for me that they wanted answered. So let me find some of the questions. And I really want to start with Brenda's question because I promised Brenda that I will answer that question. So Brenda Onyucha, let me find your question now. Why am I struggling to find your question, Brenda? Because it was a really fundamental question. Brenda, if you remember the question, let me see, I'm trying to find it, but I can't, for the love of me, find it. Why? Okay, let me start with the guys on Zoom anyway, because their questions are not that many, but I will. So somebody, as Jamil Kasirivu says, kindly talk about a recent graduate on how to start his or her career in an environment which doesn't even offer spaces for a graduate with no experience. Thank you. Good. So how first find a way to get experience. You know, please, and I am not in any way trying to be rude or disregard what you guys have said, but I would really just would like to give my friends, especially the millennials, a simple piece of advice from the real world. Nobody is going to give you anything simply because you are there. No, you must earn it. And one way to earn these things is, for instance, find a way to get the experience. People used to call me and they were willing to do volunteer. The other day we had Birunji Korotaro telling us how she begged to be given a chance. She was an MBA graduate from the University of Cape Town. She begged to be given a chance to work for free in order to prove herself. So you find a way to work for free and prove yourself. Then Brian Wamala says, can you talk about bad bosses? Yeah, bad bosses are very toxic people. And if you have a bad boss, leave now. Don't waste any more time with a bad boss because you can't change the boss. Unfortunately, you can't change your boss. So if you can't change your boss, you go. Unless, of course, you can carry out a coup. So Brenda Onyuta, I am requesting you to speak because I can't find your question. And you said something about, so I think Brenda's question, if I remember reading it, was you changed a job in 2019, hoping to find growth. 1 year later, okay, Brenda, you're here. Brenda, you speak for yourself. So can you ask the question yourself, Brenda?
question was, what would you say to someone who, in pursuit of career growth, left one job, started another, left at the end of 2019, started another, and then 1 year later, there has been no sign, and there actually seems to be no sign of their expectations being met?
Okay, thanks, Brenda. I think the problem is not the people where you went to work. I think the problem is you. What are your expectations? Are they clearly thought out? That's what I said at the beginning. One, are you suited for that place? Two, what are your expectations? Why are you hopping from job to job? What is it you're looking for? First, stop and say, if this is what I'm looking for, the next time you go to another place, first check if what you're looking for is there. Because if it's not there, then don't go. A lot of people do this job hopping business on false promise and expectations that are too high. That's what I would say to you. So in order for you to make the right decision, figure out first, why do I want to change jobs? Is it money? Is it working hours? Is it job satisfaction? Is it a boss? What is it? And then go back. What career are you pursuing? What career are you pursuing? What's the direction it's going? A lot of people in the workplace have not worked that out. They're just there because I want my job and I'll keep my job and this is it. They don't even know why they're doing that job. So unless you know the why, you are in deep trouble, Brenda. And maybe before you even move to the next job, first step back and say, what can I do? Or what do I need? What do I want to achieve before you then start making the career moves? Because it may be, and that's why, by the way, Brenda, people take sabbaticals. Like, okay, I left my job. I could immediately have gone back into the job market in search of work. I didn't, because I needed time. After I had done all the time that I did in the media, I needed a bit of time to reflect. What do I want to do? What do I want to be? Okay, I'm at my farm and I'm committed to that and being a farmer. Is there anything else I want to do? And if not, then I don't bother. If I am, what do I need to become in order to do that, what I want to do? So I invest then in the skills and becoming what I need to be in order to take the new career path. But if you're just jumping from one job to another without realizing what it is you want, then you don't know what you want and you're in trouble. So that's what I would say about that. Then there were other questions. I think the earlier ones in the day. Dan K. E. Kabanda said, I'm at a career crisis crossroad. I studied something different. I gained experience in something different because I wanted to make ends meet. I feel my passion is in something else. Honestly, I'm failing to take direction. Kabanda, what is your passion? What is it you feel like doing? You better be sure that that is what you want, because you're clearly a man in misery. And you're not going to get anywhere in your career if you're doing things out of misery. So maybe you need to be honest with yourself and honest with your current employers that it is time to take a hike, whatever that means. Or you accept that you're in it purely for the financial reasons you're in, the circumstances you're in, and you accept the rest of the punishment. That's fine. But you had better make enough money to be able to strike out on your own very quickly before you die of stress and a heart attack. Because that misery can really be debilitating. I have had people that I worked with whose lives were made terrible, and they just left and went for nowhere. But they went for happiness. They went for peace of mind. So even that, Kawanda, can be done. Then somebody, Isaac Odongo, asked me, said last year they hired a team of ex-bankers to join a sales team. Transition to online customer acquisition never aligned well with them. Is it a mindset problem when one fails to appreciate new paradigms in pursuit of career growth? Yes. And that's the point I've been hammering away, Isaac, that you see, if I got up today and decided to get a job in a bank because I'm desperate to get a job, I am not suited. It would require me to learn so many things. If you took me to go and work in a digital, heavily IT company, I'll struggle because I don't have those skills to apply. And if I'm not willing to learn and learn quickly and adapt, then I will fail. You can't go and get somebody from a completely different work process background and put them right bang into, I mean, you get public servants, for instance. Public servants are obsessed with paper. Everything, paper, paper, paper. If you take a public servant into a fully automated digital environment, they will really struggle because there's nothing to sign on. Because for them, signing a piece of paper is authority. So think about you as your career. Which route has it taken and where would you best thrive with the skills that you have? If not, what skills do you need to acquire to be effective in the new career path? That you need to do. Rema on Zoom is asking me, thanks a lot for another great talk. Talk about tips on how one can on their own improve their communication skills. Very simple. One, read, and read good books. Don't read tweets and newspapers. Read good books. You will acquire a vocabulary and a language. Two, watch programs on video which have very good speakers, people who have a command of language. Listen to podcasts or radio programs or documentaries where people speak well. You will learn how to speak. Then always take on an opportunity to speak in public. 5, the language doesn't matter. Just figure out which language you can express yourself in very well. For instance, some of the occasions I enjoy most are traditional wedding ceremonies or marriage ceremonies. And if you go to a really good one, you will enjoy the way people exchange in their local languages, and you see the art of speaking, the art of putting forward points, and not the wealth of delivery, rather the wealth of delivery. Sometimes I've been to Kwanjulas in Uganda, and people talk the whole afternoon and never mentioning the subject matter, but you all know what is being discussed. So yes, your language is important. Get your language, get your vocabulary, read, write, and also get speaking opportunities when you can. And then there is a question from, let me see who it was. Yes. Yep. So let me just, no, I'm just trying to find the question. Yes. Fahad Ntulume. Well, this is it's a very interesting conversation. How can I change the status quo of doing work? Also, how can I change career? Very good, really, really good questions, Fahad. So Fahad, first of all, let me say this, and thanks for raising it, because then I had forgotten and I want to tell you. So remember one thing, COVID has altered life in the workplace completely. Completely. Life will never be the same in the workplace after COVID. Yesterday, I had a very interesting conversation with Biaruhanga of Raxio, and we talked about the 4th industrial revolution, the Internet of Things, AI, what was the other one? Crypto, blockchain, cybersecurity. The same stuff that I had spent time talking to Noah 7, and Alan and Alan Rakatungu, Noah Balisamvu, and Stone Atwine, who lives in Paris, and the whole thing of fintech. Technology has changed the workplace completely. What I'm doing with you now, talking to over 500 of you today, is something we would have done in a conference hall. But technology has changed things. We're all sitting in our convenience in all sorts of places and having these meetings and discussions on a Friday evening. Yet this would have been something, there would have been a big billboard in town, and then we would have gone to Serena Conference Center, and then I would have talked. So there is one thing you guys need to be aware of, especially if you're somewhere between 25 and 40. When the fourth industrial revolution is in full flight, many of you will need certain skills that will be required then. Those skills are known. So right now, change yourself and prepare for the changed careers that are coming. Learn the technologies. So for instance, if I was an accountant or an auditor or a lawyer, which I am, I would pick a significant amount of interest in what blockchain is likely to do, because blockchain is likely to alter many, many jobs, including things like writing contracts. Contracts are going to be standard business, just done by AI and finished. Won't need a lawyer. Books of accounts will probably also be done by algorithms and AI. Won't need an accountant. Auditing will probably become unnecessary, because if the technology can confirm that what I have done is correct, then there's no need for an auditor. So think about this, Fahad. How is technology likely to change the status quo, the way it works today? What effect is that likely to have on careers? That's absolutely important, Fahad, for you guys to know. Because if you don't, you will only have yourself to blame. Okay, let me take a couple of questions from the Spaces guys. So let's see. One, Henry Twebaze Henry 4, can you speak?
Hi, Robert.
Hi, Henry. Go ahead.
Sorry, thanks for the talk. I just have a quick one. Could you talk briefly about how some millennials will be able to improve on their work ethic?
Yes.
And how they could be able to... I had a chance to talk with you about 10 years ago, and I came to your office and asked you, if you're fired from your position, how long it would take for you to get out of your office? And you said 15 minutes. and that changed everything. It also got me to be able to create employment and do all those things. So could you kindly talk about how all of us could be able to improve on our work ethic and basically stop complaining about everything else apart from ourselves, and what we have, and to be able to move to where you want to go? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Henry. Well, Henry, you may not realize, although I was ready to leave in 15 minutes, I ended up leaving after 90 days. Not because I was not prepared to leave, but because leaving some of these jobs can be quite a convoluted process. Now, allow me to give my personal view of millennials. I'm assuming millennials are people who were born somewhere between the 1990s, late 1990s and early 2000s. Now, you were born to parents who were willing, because they were compensating for their own lack of opportunity and shortages, they made a lot of compensation by giving you everything when you were young, whenever you demanded for it. When you cried, they gave you something to eat or whatever it is, or put you in front of a TV or something, or they gave in. In our days, when you cried, they gave you a slap and you kept quiet. Now, you people have grown up with instant gratification. You want success immediately. You want something to work right away. And it doesn't help that some of your role models are from the technology world of the US, where somebody starts with an app and tomorrow is bought out and is a millionaire. But that's not, or as my friends used to describe, they used to call, people think success is a music video. in 5 minutes. At the beginning of the video, you're poor, and at the end of the video, you're rich driving, and that all happened in 5 minutes. That's not how life is. The thing, Henry, that employers need to do, especially with millennials, is to give them tough love. The workplace is rough. That's what it is. If I want you to deliver my results, deliver them. If you don't, there will be consequences. That's how ethics will come back to that generation. But also, not all millennials are like that. I have met some really, and I think those are the majority, very hardworking, because they've been through training and school and they work hard. The ones who end up not working hard, really, it's just the background, and they can change. And how do you get them to change? The culture of organizations, if people work hard, there's a structure, there's a routine, and accountability. There has to be accountability for people's actions. You can't decide when you want to work. Either you work or you don't. And if you don't, there have to be consequences. And you can't say that somebody doesn't like you or for you. And this whole thing about the gig economy and so on, yes, fine, gig economy, do bits and pieces here, but deliver. If you don't deliver, then there should be consequences for you. Henry, that's the only way we will return seriousness to and work ethics to that generation and to other people as well who are just downright lazy. So that's what I would say about that. Let me take a question from Alinda Yamukama. Alinda, can you speak?
Hello? Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. My name is Alinda Biamukama. Thanks for letting me speak. I am a lawyer. That's what I studied. But my passion is in tech. So I really have been appreciating some of the recent talks you've been having on this space. And my question is there, okay, right now I'm learning tech online and I've enrolled in several courses. However, my worry is that with having like a legal background, let's say I apply to a tech company in Uganda and they ask, what did you study? And I say law, but these are my skills, this is my portfolio. Am I deluding myself in thinking that I have a chance at employment, like changing from a legal career, or should I forego the employment route and simply go into entrepreneurship, try and set up a small business or a company and go down that route? So yeah, that's my question. For people who are like me, who have
Alinda,
a background in one thing and then a passion in something different.
Alinda,
Yes, please.
I want to ask you a question. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
Do you know what my professional training is?
I just found out now that which I was like, wow.
So
I did not know, yes.
So do what you want. Now, go and get clarity about where in the tech space you want to play, okay? I am sure you have networks, you have connections, and you can put yourself out there and then go and get some work experience. Ask the tech companies, allow you to get some experience. I don't know if you listened to a space we had with somebody called James Wire. Some people call him Wire. He's got, if you check on Twitter, you can follow him and engage him. He's a very open-minded fellow, very good, and supports people. James studied agricultural economics, but he ended up in the tech world, and he was one of the pioneers of people who were setting up IT systems, internet, and so on. And his story was fascinating, how he taught himself those things. So don't be discouraged at all, Alinda. Don't. Go look for opportunity, pursue that. If you have ability to set up your own company, fine. But if I were you, I would find tech companies and spend 1 or 2 years just getting experience and understanding the tech world as it is and how it works. And precisely because you're a lawyer, trained as a lawyer, you will apply that superior training that we go through in law school to a context that may not necessarily have that level of paradigm. And therefore, you will be applying to worlds. And who knows, in 5 years, you will be the one lawyer who can apply themselves in the tech world or the tech world to law, and you'll thrive. You'll thrive. So please, by all means, don't give up. Okay, Alinda?
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Right. Let me see. By the way, Alinda, Rehema, who's been listening to this conversation on Zoom, has just posted to say there are a lot of opportunities in legal aspects of IT. So there you are. And therefore, you could bring interesting perspectives to the IT world and take interesting perspectives from the IT world to the legal world. So you will be standing in both. Then there is also someone else I think you should get in touch with on social media, somebody called Silva Kayondo. He's a lawyer who has a lot of interest in IT matters. So you could do that. Then I've got HK from Zoom who said, my tech job seekers, don't sit at home with your CV. Do courses, seek internships, offer to volunteer, replace WhatsApp time with reading. Don't take a week without reading. HK, you are somebody after my heart. So let me go back to Spaces for a few more questions. And one of my favorite people on Spaces, Dark and Lovely. What do you have to say? Dark and Lovely, are you there? You're normally able to talk. I don't know what has happened to your internet today. Oh yeah, okay, so we'll wait for Dark and Lovely to find her voice. MIT, meet Hosea. What do you have to say?
Thanks, Robert.
Yep.
So I just wanted to just clarify something, and it is a quote from, I think it was a question that was asked by Donald Trump in terms of who he was able to trust with his checkbook. And he says that someone who he has worked with for about 5 years. So there is a lot of, we talked about technology and all of those aspects that come into all of these things.
Yeah.
Could you talk about building of personal, your social capital, how it could be able to influence on your career growth?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Oh man, Hosea, wow. That's such an important question. And I remember in my early days of doing this coffee with you guys, I pointed out that some of you have a very interesting personality on social media. Today, when people are looking, first of all, people are tracking you on social media to see what persona you have on social media. So some of you want to be employable, but you're using fake names. And so you have no identity. You have no social capital to build. You are there wasting time because you have all these false and fake names, and you're missing out on being recognized for what you are, because there's no better place for you to be seen and appreciated instantly for what you are and can be, like it is on social media. So why are you there with a false name? What are you hiding? So yes, it is important for you to build social capital for your career. You need 3/4 of what goes into deciding, or the people who are deciding your careers, they're deciding it on the basis of how they know you, not on your skills. You can have all the qualifications from all the universities, but if they don't know you from John, then they'll go with John because it's just a comfort zone. That's what life is like. So yes, invest in building social capital. And I will not tire to remind you guys that your identity and how you project yourself is so important. I keep telling guys, when I make a phone call or when I send a message, I always use my name to sign off or to introduce myself, and I use my surname. A lot of people call me, somebody calls me and says, hello, my name is Florence. Who cares if your name is Florence? Who is it's like thousands of Florences. But when I call and say my name is Kabushenga, then immediately it zeroes down on the person you're talking to. If I send you a message and put my name, then you know who I'm dealing with. And on that note, let me bring in Dark and Lovely.
Oh my God.
Immediately, no problem. Anyway, say what you have to say.
In my opinion,
yeah.
Hi, Robert.
Hi.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thanks for the presentation.
Yeah.
Can you hear me
yes,
clearly?
Yes, very loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. I think the reason for, in my opinion, rather, as in the reason why I still have a pseudonym on my Twitter account is that I'm still learning how things work on Twitter. I just opened an account like this year or a few months ago, 2 months ago. So I'm still in the closet. Eventually, when I gain my confidence, I will come out. But thanks for that tip. It really hits home and makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
In this day and era.
But before you go on, I wanted to just point out that you see, you've been making really great interventions on these spaces. Now, there are people who are quietly listening, and they may say, but that person sounds sensible, but then the opportunity they would have given you is lost because they don't know who you are. You get my point? So you just really just need to rethink. I wasn't, hitting at you as such. I'm just pointing out that we need to rethink why we're on these technologies and that they could work for us better than they are working now. I appreciate that some of these spaces like Twitter can be very nasty, or Facebook, and people can be really nasty, but there are better options. Anyway, go on. You had something you wanted to ask.
Your comment positive. I'm going to ask or make some points of information. Your points are positive criticism, so I appreciate that. And if you want to advance in our career or build our career, what I wanted you to comment about is pay cuts in career development. That is one. Pay cuts.
What about pay cuts?
Like taking a job. Yeah. Like for some of us work in the project world, one day you get a contract for 3 years, it ends, another one comes up, and then you find that sometimes you have to take on another job, but the pay may be different. So some people have a challenge with that, but it comes with some. If you talk about that, and then my tip for career growth was given to me by my mom, who was just a simple nurse. She told me that whatever you do, always do it 150%. If you're going to be a cleaner of one of Kampala cities, let your street be the most clean street, and like people certainly notice. That is one way that you stand out from the crowd. And then when we are advancing in our careers, I go with a blank canvas. I avoid click. I just go in there with my conscience, my confidence, my skill set, and I never have expectations from like the people I'm going to work with. I get there with a blank canvas, and then I start painting my picture and fitting myself into that picture. But at the end of the day, my conscience is I must deliver 150% or 250%. So wherever you throw me in Papua New Guinea, I will go with that. I'll go with that tip, and in my own way, my conscience tells me I always make it. And in my opinion, on the projects I've worked on, I have delivered 150 to 250%. Thank you, Robert.
You're going to be incredibly successful if you are not yet already. So I'm not sure that I can even add anything that you have just said. I mean, it's so profound, that level of wisdom, that there's nothing for me to add. I will dilute. The only thing I will say, the only thing. Sure.
Yeah, sorry. Can I just make one? Just like to qualify that statement of my mom. There is a guy who cleans that street in front of the street from Uganda Museum to warn the guy about.
Yeah.
That guy, whenever he brings his toys, his littles, to come and work with him. That street is always the most green street in Kampala. I've watched his work ethic, and I watch how he teaches his kids the work ethic. Believe me, those kids are going to be as hardworking as their dad, because every holiday, of course, now COVID has changed things. He's there at 7, watering his, stretch. It's always green. It's always green. My mom is RIP right now. I smile. I'm like, oh, yeah.
You see? Yeah. You see?
Thank you.
Yeah, and you see, that is what makes people successful. That man's kids are going to be very successful. But you asked about pay cuts. For me, the question is always very simple. What is the objective for which you're taking the particular job? If the objective is not the money, then you can take a pay cut. If there's a different benefit. Right now, I have no income from my farm, but I preferred to go to my farm rather than look for another job. Why? Because I know exactly what I am looking for. So once you're very clear, once you achieve that clarity, it will work for you. That's for sure. There's no doubt. So then the issue of whether it's a pay cut or not a pay cut doesn't arise. It really doesn't matter. Let me take on my man from Chicago, Eddie Muyobo. Say something, Eddie. Okay, Eddie, while you find your voice from far away in Chicago, let's try Aboki, Belvis 302. Okay, David Okongo. David Okongo, are you able to speak? What's happening to all you guys and your voices? You're all losing your voices. David Gianna Okongo, can you speak?
Yes, thank you, Robert. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
My network is.
Yeah. Are you
Good evening, Mr. Robert.
Okay, now I'm talking to two people. So can you guys figure out who is going to speak first?
Let me go first.
Who is that?
So, Robert, I wanted to find out. This is David Okongo.
Oh, go ahead.
Diana. So I wanted to get some advice from you as young people who are in employment. The issue of juggling between leaving one job and going to another job, whereby you have a job you're doing now, and then probably you've gone through an interview and you get another area currently without hurting their reputation, anything, because sometimes the employers, you tell them, I'm moving on to another job, and then they're feeling bad, they're unable to, So how do you handle such situations whereby you go to another job, that you keep that good relationship with your former employers? Thank you.
It's very simple. Very, very, very simple. These matters are not emotional, David. They are purely practical. Why are you leaving one job for another? Because when your current employer, whom you're so worried about, decides that he no longer wants you to work for them, they won't be thinking the same way. So if you've gotten another job, just the manner, how you manage your exit is the best thing. And be frank, be polite, and be a promise to be an ambassador for their organization, because even organizations know that, and I used to do it a lot. So when people would leave Vision and go to other organizations, I knew that I would count on them for their goodwill. So it's the way you leave. If you are rude and you tell them off, then, but otherwise, people are happy for you to grow and move on to the next. If they want you to stay, they will definitely make you a much better offer than they are giving you now. So that's that. So Bernard Musekese. Bernard, are you ready?
Yes, Robert, thank
dropping, Robert. I'm Bernard for now.
Okay.
Given your tip.
Wabukala, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Now, I know you're speaking to young people here, mostly young people here, but there are also some parents on this call.
Okay.
Now, what advice do you have for parents who actually want to almost define for their kids what they should be, who they should be, even after they have left their house?
Wabukala, don't even go very far with that question. I'll give you the answer right now. The only thing you're going to do for your children is pay school fees. That's it. Then, if you want them to behave or try a career that whatever you want, then you be that. You show the behavior that you want, the children will follow that. Then leave the rest, leave your children alone. Let them make their choices, let them make their mistakes. Once they do that, it is okay. If you try to manage their lives for them and they make mistakes, they'll blame you for the rest of your life. That for me is very straightforward. The only role as a parent you have to do is pay school fees and make sure they get a good education and make sure that they're disciplined. When you do it, that's it. Do your parenting job. You are not a career guide as a parent. You probably know nothing. You're probably old-fashioned and getting them into careers that are going to be obsolete very quickly. So as parents, please stay out of that business. Okay, Wabukala.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Kevin to Singwire. Hi.
To Singwire here.
Hey.
HBS.
Uh-huh.
I thank you very much for that advice given. I'm a new dad. It's very important. Very important to let your kid be who they are.
Yeah.
I jumped in on the point of Alinda where she was saying she was doing tech and was trying to figure out how it will work out with her and her job as a lawyer. I personally worked in BOU for 3 years while I was working there. I did coding, online coding academy.
Yeah.
And then from there, I pivoted and went into construction.
Wow.
From there, after 2019, I pivoted again, joined HBS. And right now, I'm entering the tech world and the venture capital world in California.
Wow.
So life is a journey. Take it one step at a day. That's my advice for her. And thank you for the great talk. It's really wonderful. Thank you.
You're most welcome to Singwire and good luck in that world. Huh? Simon Bagumaho. Simon.
Thank you, Robert.
Yep.
Thank you, Kanji. Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. I've grown fond of these talks. I hope they never stop.
Oh my.
To 6 p.m.
It's becoming a full-time job.
Thank you so much. Really, really great topic. I was just wondering whether you can speak more to, some of us work in really, really highly competitive organizations where it's basically burning the midnight candle. And at some point you enter when you really are fired up for this job, but obviously I guess burnout and all this comes in, and you find that your description or your definition of job satisfaction actually begins to sort of be blurred. What are your measures for job satisfaction, and how do you keep that going even when you know that you are really in the place?
Let me say this to you, Simon. It's very simple and straightforward. The job satisfaction parameters change as you go along in life. So for instance, when you came in originally, maybe your job satisfier was money. But then after a while, you start to find that working hours become an issue and so on. So things change. The most important step for you is to keep evaluating at different stages. Is this still the most important thing for you? And that's why I said in my earlier talk, I said, figure out at every stage, what is the purpose of my work still the same? Or has it changed? And if it has changed, what has it changed to? And where does this organization and the work I'm doing fit in my larger scheme of things? You must have a larger scheme of things. Then where do you fit? Where does what you're doing and you fit in the larger scheme of things? The organization itself may have changed. And that's why the situation has arisen. So please always make an assessment at least every 2 years of your position. So let me ask Dr. Judith Kabajulizi to say something. Judith. Dr. Judith, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah, I'll be very brief. I would say, let's say, thank you very much for always putting up these. But today I'm prompted to speak specifically because someone talks about, and you two talks about, giving the job your all. So I'll just give you an example, listen as an example, one of myself as how I've gone through my career, and also how my experience with employing young people, because I employ young people in Uganda, and their attitude to work is down the doldrums. While my experience here in the UK, I'm a university lecturer in the UK, but as you might know, racism is still everywhere, no matter what. But working 150% leaves these people or anyone else no choice but to promote you through the ranks.
Absolutely.
Okay? So for the young people, do not even think about just, fulfilling your duties. Do something more so that people have no choice but just to take you on. Because especially when you work outside Uganda, you will find that sometimes some people take things for granted and they'll just, deliver the way you are. Whatever is required to them, just up to maybe 100%. But when you go in and deliver 150%, which is not hard, by the way, especially if you have a Ugandan background like me, it's the normal kind of work. You turn out research papers, you turn out the way I'm a professor, the way you teach students is different. You get very good student reviews and all that. And they will have no choice when you put in your application but to promote you. But to begin with, they will look down on you. So young people, please learn to work 150% or even more. But also, lastly, this being purposeful, this comes in handy because just today I was talking to my 13-year-old about being purposeful, and that where I am started when I was young. He's in year 9, and that's how it went through. I knew not exactly what I wanted to do or to be, but I had a broad goal. So I started, and I knew that I needed to work hard at it. And that happened at all levels. Through my undergraduate at Makerere University, I got an upper second because I knew that in order to get a scholarship, I learned you needed to get a minimum of an upper second degree. So an upper second degree in economics. Then I had to get a scholarship to do my master's in the UK. And I also got a distinction at my master's, not because I was so clever, but I worked for it because I wanted to do a PhD. So getting a scholarship for a PhD and at a top university in the UK wasn't a problem. So for young people, purpose to work hard and always work more than 100%. The people I employ in Uganda do not give me that. I haven't seen anyone who gives me that yet. And they think I'm crazy when I demand it. And if they want to be paid more than, someone says, oh, I need a salary increase. They say, for what? It's your cause, So, Robert, that's it. Thank you very much.
Judith, I will not add anything to what you have said.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was powerful. Anthony Nasasira.
Thank you so much, Kabushenga.
Yeah.
My name is, I usually introduce myself by my first name.
No, your name is Nasasira.
My name is Nasasira.
Yeah, I'm a civil engineer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been listening to your talks. I've listened to like 5 talks, and it's been incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you for the good work that you're doing. Mine is a simple request.
Yes.
I'm passionate about housing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm passionate about housing, and I would love to see you host some people, civil engineers who have been in career for some time, to talk about the housing deficits that we are facing in Uganda. It would be really good for me. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You must have missed a talk we had with Judy Rugasira Chanda of Knight Frank, but we'll find someone else. Don't worry. Yeah. No worries.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Good. Mugoya Moses. Mugoya Moses.
Thank you very much. Kabushenga. My name is Mugoya Moses. Could you kindly talk about young people in formal employment who would want to do side businesses? I've fallen culprit of very many startups, and I've loaned some money and it has not materialized. So could you kindly talk about it? Because very many people are getting affected, especially when they start work and then they want to go on and do a side business thinking that they'll get more money out of it. Thank you.
Great. Moses, you must have missed the talk we had with Mumba Kalifungwa, the MD of Absa Bank, because he spoke about being in formal employment and also doing your side hustle. So I'll say this. First of all, the losses you make and the mistakes you make in those side hustles, consider it as university fees, because if it's early in your life, it may not be the thing that breaks you or takes you to your death. No, but you learn lessons. So what are the lessons you've learned from the different experiences you've had? So go back and look. What is it that you learned that you must never repeat in your next hustle? The negatives that you found in your hustle should not discourage you from doing your hustle. I am a keen person on the hustle because it gives you an exit plan. The day your hustle becomes big enough, you can leave your employment. And if you're doing your hustle, it's because you love it. It's just that you may not be ready, but you love it. But it goes back to what Judith has been talking about. Even as you do your side hustle, the most important thing is give your current employer over 100%. Then nobody is peeping and looking at what you're doing as a side hustle. You must, if it is time for the normal job, go and do it. Then go to your hustle afterwards. Even if that, I think I'm going to look for one guy that I need to talk to. The guy who owns Sam's, the one who does the snacks, because he has an incredible story. He was a teacher during the day, he was a student in the evening, and he was making Gonja crisps at night and distributing them in the morning. So there are people with those experiences, and we'll bring them. And then we will see how that helps you. But your side hustle is a university class. It teaches you the choices you're making in business and how to survive. So by the time it becomes the main hustle, you'll have learned your lessons at a very low cost. You would still make the same mistakes if you dived into it as a formal business, but I encourage doing the side hustle. Make sure that we follow what Christ told us in the Bible. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's. So you give Caesar his time, and then you go to God after that. So find the time. Right, there is somebody called S.O. Kusti. S.O. Kusti. Okay, S.O. Kusti seems to have lost his voice. Shaz, Miss Mugasha.
Thank you for always giving me a chance to speak. This is not really a question, but I think just to encourage a lot of the listeners that are here, I'm a millennial, and a lot of the people that have been asking questions, they seem to be confused about what do I do? Where do I go? And I'm going to talk a little bit about my personal experience to say that it's okay to not have it all figured out.
True.
The first time I decided I wanted to make money, I was in my P7 VAT And my parents went, they worked, and they bought for themselves nice things. I liked Bon Appetit chips and liver, and it was 2,000 shillings at the time. So
even you.
I asked for a job just to pay me enough to eat chips and liver every single day. And for me, that was amazing. And then I wasn't allowed to be given money in school to buy things at break time. So I offered to buy bread for people in my class, and that way I would make a jaulo, and then I would buy something at the canteen. And the canteen ladies would give me a bonus.
You girl, you have been a hustler for a long time.
Yeah, and it's okay. It's okay, because ultimately all of us want to earn. And my first formal job, I was in architecture school, but I took on a job in my second year as a receptionist. And I got to interact with people. So over the years, I'm no longer even practicing as an architect, but over the years, I landed on an award that changed my life, which is polymath. It's okay to not be good at just one thing.
True.
There are people who are passionate about one thing, they will grow with it and they'll become excellent at it. So don't get anxiety when you see somebody is excelling as a data center, professional, opening a data center called Raxio. But before they were writing blankets and wine, and before they had tried how to do this and it failed, it's okay. You don't have to have everything figured out. The only important thing is you wake up every single day and you do something. You have productive hours of your day. I tried to be a broker for houses a few years back. I failed miserably, but I learned. I made connections on those streets. So get up. If it's an office job and you don't like it, but you're learning something, do it. And if you don't feel like doing it a year later, people say it's a millennial problem, but I think it's an advantage. We're in a time where having multiple skills and learning from multiple places is a plus. When your resume shows that you've done this and that, it's okay. It's good. So don't see it as a bad thing. Don't see it as a disadvantage. And Google how to succeed as a polymath in this millennial age. There's so many resources out there.
Shaz,
that's it.
Shaz.
Thank you.
Can I tell you something?
Yes, please.
I tried to organize Miss Uganda twice. I tell you, but I lost a lot of money, so I learned my lessons. But anyway, I think we've stayed 15 minutes longer than we ought to have stayed, and you've summarized it very well. I don't want to take away from such a fantastic final submissions. I want to thank everybody on Zoom, on YouTube, and you guys who keep me going on Spaces. You've made this bigger than I thought it would ever be. It is growing every single day because of you guys. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic weekend. Remember to enjoy yourself. Have a good laugh. And remember what I told you at the beginning. Maybe some of you hadn't joined. A friend of mine just sent me a message that the demand for oxygen around the hospitals in the country has gone up, which is an indication that I think that COVID cases might be going up again and resulting in severe illness. So please, guys, remember those masks, avoid crowded places, and sanitize like hell, exercise, and avoid any risky behavior. That way we will still have you around this time next year, but we will also be able to avoid a lockdown. Thank you guys for listening to me on Career Growth. Have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy yourselves. I enjoy your company. You keep me going. Have fun. God bless you. Goodbye, guys.